Welcome everybody to the Shaded Pixels podcast, where we break down video games to the shadings and pixels, topic by topic.
Wow.
Hold it.
I am one of your hosts, Esteban Sky Cuevas, along with BJ Brown. And my finger.
Wow.
There we go.
That's his
Shawn
name.
Richards.
What's up, my finger?
My finger. My finger. There he is. Well, we had an extended break, ladies and gentlemen, because we all died.
We were hungover.
We
partied so hard last time that we just kind of were so wasted, and we just had to recover.
Yeah, we were in a horrible plane crash because we were so wasted. It was so bad that the plane nosedived into the sand, kicked up a bunch of sand that then buried the plane. So it kind of made our own graves.
No. Just tell the truth. Tell them that we were illegally voting in all 50 states for 2 weeks. That's all you got to say.
Iowa was a bitch.
Absentee ballot.
Woo!
That's the way to go. Yeah, we got arrested for being brown.
Pretty much.
And Shawn was just drunk. That part was right.
Well, he was guilty by association, so
Yeah.
He was guilty by. Yeah. So we had our little break, but we are back now, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a big topic for you today. We are going to be talking about the huge, big military shooter titans of the industry today. That is
Far Cry and Red Faction.
Red Faction.
Yeah. Woo! No, that's not it.
No.
Dang
I thought this was 1998. Are we going to be talking about Unreal and Half-Life?
No.
No, we're talking about Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Ding, 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 ding.
They are the two top military shooters of our generation. They are arguably still the biggest shooters of this console cycle, even though we can argue that it's not quite what it used to be, but there's not really a contender against them either.
Not really.
So after let's see, Battlefield started in the early 2000s with Battlefield 1942, and right?
Was it that? I think it was a little bit earlier.
Was it in the 90s?
I want to say it was late 90s. I seem to remember it being a little. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I hate you. I hate you. I'm gonna look it up.
I know Call of Duty. The first one was 2003. I know that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Maybe you're thinking of Medal of Honor because that was in the 90s, and that's also EA.
That is certainly quite possible.
Battlefield 1942. That is the first Battlefield game.
Yes, that was in 2000. You're right. That was 2002.
And yeah, 2002. So the year before.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's been.
Go figure.
God, it's been. What does that make it, like 16 years? 17 years?
Yes, it has. And it's been through some rough patches.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell ya. So what about Call of Duty? What did we say Call of Duty was? When it started?
That was 2003.
2003. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2003, 2004 was the United Offense expansion pack, and then 2005 was Call of Duty 2, and it came out with the Xbox 360. I remember that.
Yeah, honestly, I can't say that. Me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I do remember playing both of these titles when they first came out.
Okay. I can only say that for one of these franchises.
Really? Which one?
Call of Duty.
Really? Okay. What did you play it on?
The very first Call of Duty that I played, actually, I think it was on the PlayStation 2, and it was Call of Duty Finest Hour, which was the the console port of the first game, and I used that loosely because the consoles couldn't really handle it. So they changed a lot. And that game was butt. It's not very good. But then I played Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360, and that is my favorite Call of Duty to this day.
Really?
I love the campaign in that game. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It was...
Well, that's true. All the early Call of Duties had fantastic campaigns. That was like its claim to fame when it first came out.
We'll get to that.
It was. I'm serious. When it first came out, Call of Duty, one of the big things for Call of Duty was it was one of those games that was supposed to show off cinematic, chaotic battlefield moments along with really, really intense sound. Like the sound design on the early Call of Duty games was considered top notch back in the day. That much I remember because I had it on. I played it first when it was on PC. Yeah. And that was the thing. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, Call of Duty! If you want, a really good, hectic, what is it, single player experience or whatever, that's one of the games that you get."
Well, okay, we can get into that now.
That's what it was.
Since we're talking about it, okay, let's get into the campaign thing now. Then, after playing Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360, at that point, I finally had a competent computer, so I went back and I played Call of Duty 1 on the PC and United Offense. And you're right. That Call of Duty 1 has a fantastic campaign as well. Call of Duty 2's campaign, I think, is even better, and I like it as much.
Oh, yeah.
The reason
it got better game by game. It did.
The reason why I feel like that's not entirely true, and this is sort of my opinion, but to be fair, I have a differing opinion from the norm.
How's that different than any other time? But continue.
Really?
I'm just playing with you. Go for it.
I mean, I don't mind, but I don't think I do.
No, I'm just playing with you. Go ahead.
Okay. But those two were great. I have not really liked the Call of Duty campaign ever since those two. And that includes Modern Warfare.
No, that's not surprising. Honestly, that really isn't surprising because once after that time period, they recognize that the future you see it today. They recognize that the future of that gaming franchise wasn't in single player experiences. So they turned, they changed a bit. So less of their resources went to full-fledged single player experience. And plus, if you look at it, almost all of those Call of Duty games were in the exact same war. They were all World War II.
Yeah.
So by the time, so the first four.
No.
Yeah. Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, and then Call of Duty World War II. Those were the first four. Those were all Call of Duty games.
World War II just came out like last year.
No. I think they had another one that was World War II.
World at War. That came after Call of Duty 4.
Didn't they have?
That's true. That was after Modern Warfare. But yeah. Either way, the first three, they were all World War II games, and that was basically, including Battlefield. It was like everybody was having World War II fatigue because, just like we were saying earlier, there was Medal of Honor, there was Call of Duty, there was Battlefield, there was probably two or three other different
thing too. We're not bringing them up in this discussion, but the big guy back then was actually Medal of Honor.
Yeah. And it was in direct competition with Call of Duty back in the day. It was pretty good back in the day.
Call of Duty was seen as kind of like, they're ripping off of Medal of Honor.
Kinda, because you couldn't really distinguish between the two of them, honestly. Not by that much.
and then around that time, you're right, there was the fatigue with World War II, but it was just that Call of Duty was doing it so well. And Battlefield, I think at this point had
until they got to Call of Duty 3. Call of Duty 3 was not that good.
Yeah, and I played it. It was fine, but yeah, you could skip it and miss nothing. And then I think at that point, Battlefield was already starting to move forward with 2014, 49 or whatever that was. But
well,
I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Going from early on with the campaigns and stuff, you say that, Call of Duty eventually saw that, this is not the direction we're going to be going. It seems like Battlefield knew that from the get-go.
Yep. That's how they began. They had zero single player. Their whole focus was strictly multiplayer.
Was that how 1942 was? Because I've never played
Yes.
1942.
I played 1942 until my eyes bled. I used to love that game, and there were aspects of it that I thought were awesome because I think even the demo that I had of it when I first started playing it, it basically set you up where you were at the bottom of a hill, the attackers were on the top of a hill, or no, the defenders were on the top of a hill. So they were basically shooting down at you, and you were trying to rush the hill. Okay. But what they kind of incorporated was, in their claim to fame, was sticking as many people on a map as possible. So that was their claim to fame. I can't remember how many. Right. I think it was 32. I can't remember. Yeah. But even with those numbers, if there weren't 32 on each side, they had bots, which I thought was cool because it didn't matter if you had a full map or not. If you had a full server or not, you would always have something to shoot at. There would always be guys coming or going. As to their accuracy and how much they were helping or hurting, it could definitely be debated, but you still had bullets flying all over the place from somebody.
You know what I mean? Had the option.
Right. You still had the option. You could jump in a match. Do that anymore. Yeah, there's probably a lot of technical challenges.
Why you would not want that, but I don't see the problem with having the option.
Yeah, I think I bet there were probably a lot of technical challenges to that. That probably prevented them from being able to do that on the scale that they wanted to, because as they started going forward and adding more to the game, that became more and more difficult for them to do. Because I didn't play the expansions that they had for Battlefield 1942, but the biggest key that differentiated it from most other first-person shooters out there was the fact that you could use vehicles in this game.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw a whole new dynamic in it that games like Call of Duty and Medal of Honor or whatever kind of shoehorned into specific, little lanes.
Sequences.
Yeah, little sequences.
It was very scripted, and like you said, it was single player campaign based. So if you were going to use a vehicle, it was because there happened to be one, and the enemy's coming, so let's get in there and have an exciting rail shooting section where you're shooting from the truck.
Exactly. That's exactly kind of how it was.
Yeah.
So the fact that Battlefield had it set up in what we now commonly know as what's the term? Domination. The domination mode, where there's flags that you can take all at the same time on the map.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than it just be capture the flag. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about capture points on all throughout the map, in a big map, whole bunch of people, and you're all running and rushing to get those and hold those capture points with a ticket system.
Yeah.
So whoever's holding the most flags or capture points is the one that, as time progresses, drains the other side's tickets faster. Mm-hmm. So, that system worked out well because with the size of the maps and the amount of people that you were putting on them, the vehicles actually worked out, and it was very well balanced. There wasn't a whole lot of you having to worry about getting spawn raped or whatever until like one side really had like the real upper hand on the map.
Well, it's because the focus wasn't on your kill death ratio per se. It was the points.
Right.
It was
it was a point system.
Whereas most multiplayer at that time, because of actually, again, a series we're not going to be talking about here, but because of Unreal Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it was about just getting as many kills as you can, and that's sort of the route that Call of Duty and Medal of Honor went, because they had multiplayer, and it wasn't bad. I remember playing Call of Duty 2 multiplayer, but it was just kind of run around and.
I did not like it at all. That, and it got worse. And what was funny was it got even worse on Call of Duty 3. So it was like Call of Duty 2. It was serviceable because they knew that they weren't going to put vehicles on it. Yeah. So you could run around and you could do stuff on the map. So it made sense. It was okay, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that exciting because I felt like the maps were small. That's what I was
getting at. It wasn't very like unique or anything like that. It was just like it's there.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Call of Duty 3, they tried to shoehorn a few vehicles in there, but the maps were so small that the vehicles didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So it didn't play very well at all. But you could see that the multiplayer, the thought pattern in terms of how they were designing maps was getting better. Mm-hmm. You know, you could see it. And then all of a sudden, you know, fast forward to like 2007, for Call of Duty anyways, when Modern Warfare dropped, that was like a nuclear bomb in more ways.
Well, I kind of want to like put a pin in the beginning parts of Battlefield and Call of Duty before we get to Modern Warfare, because that changes a lot.
Yeah, because like Battlefield went through a lot of iterations in between that time.
Yeah. So like, okay, so there was Battlefield 1942. I actually own that game, but on my new computer it doesn't want to run, and I've never figured out why. Then we have Battlefield 2, and I've never played.
In between, they actually had Battlefield Vietnam.
Oh, was that
It was kind of like an expand. It was kind of like an expansion, but it ended up being a standalone.
Standalone, okay.
Yeah, I think at one point it was an expansion in 1942, but they ended up making it a standalone. And I played a little bit of it, just because I love anything that has to do with Vietnam. I don't know why, but I do.
Okay.
I mean, I played that a bit, and I mean, it held to the same format, and it was fun. It played well. It played just like 1942, except it was reskinned. It was almost like a mod, you know?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot to it.
I might be misremembering it, but I believe that this is the only game that took place in Vietnam that was good.
Let me think on that.
Because I distinctly remember that after a while, people were getting tired of World War II, so they're like, okay, we'll go to Vietnam. And there's not really a great way of how you can frame that war, because it wasn't great. So every single attempt to do a Vietnam game usually fell flat. And I think that this one was the one exception.
Yes. I think at that time, that would be an accurate statement. I think at that time, that was the only one that really captured the chaos and, you know, the guerrilla warfare tactic kind of method of Vietnam or whatever.
And then especially because a lot of the other games were trying to do the single player campaign, which would be a story. And you can't really do good guys versus bad guys thing with Vietnam because it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that type of war.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I think later on, like Bad Company 2 had an expansion with Vietnam. That one was also good. But at the time, that was the only Vietnam one that was good. And then I think this one's before Modern Warfare. There was after that there was Battlefield 2, and then there was
Battlefield 2 was before Modern Warfare came out.
And then there was Battlefield 2049.
Battlefield 2 was out for a while before Modern Warfare came out, and Battlefield 2142 was also out before Modern Warfare as well.
Okay. All right. Battlefield 2, I played the console version of and didn't like it.
The battle.
I heard that's a problem.
Battlefield 2 on the PC and Battlefield 2 on the console are two completely different games.
Exactly.
They are nowhere near related. I don't even think they're made by the same. They might be made by the same developer, but I'm certain the engine is completely different. It's like the way and method that you play each one of the games is not similar at all. Because the console version of Battlefield 2 at that time, number one, they weren't able to get the amount of players that they wanted to or that they could on PCs at that time. Right. So, like the amount of players on one map at a time was nowhere near what you could do on PC.
Right.
And then like it was almost like they shoehorned some weird kind of system into how you chose the characters, which was completely unrelated to the Battlefield 2 on the PC and all this other kind of stuff. And it just wasn't balanced at all.
Yeah.
So, like the gear and the tools that each kit would use, some of them were overpowered. So it didn't really balance the gameplay at all. And I think there may have been vehicles here and there, but again, they just wasn't balanced at all. Whereas Battlefield 2, on the other hand, that for me is still a masterpiece of
that's like what I hear.
First-person shooters. If I could play that game to the like right now on the server, I'd still play that game over any of the newer Battlefield games. That game was perfection.
Was that one of your top games that we did? Yeah, yes, that's what I thought.
It was.
Yeah,
it was. I put so much time into that game, and it was interesting because when you looked at how it evolved from 1942 to Battlefield 2, not only did they didn't just reskin it, they made it so that it's a bit bigger. They actually had really good balance to each one of the different classes and the gear that all the classes used. And then they also tacked on, which doesn't exist anymore, and I miss the commander mode. And in Battlefield 2, that mode, well, not mode, but that role in the game was fantastic because they made it so that as a commander, you could be on the map, or you had to actually be on the map. But you affected the battle in multiple ways.
There's commands, right?
Yeah, you could. They really structured it well because they made it so that the commander was the only person that could talk to essentially not necessarily every player, but all of the other squad leaders on the map using voice over IP, right? So the commander could only talk to each one of the squad leaders. So whenever somebody dropped in, they would either be told they're a squad member, or they'd be a freelance, or they'd be a squad leader. If you were squad leader, you could talk directly on your microphone to the commander and back and forth, right? If you were a squad leader, you could talk to the commander, but you couldn't talk to the other squad leaders. You could also talk to the squad members that were in your squad voice over IP, right?
Yeah.
If you were just somebody that dropped in as a lone wolf, you couldn't talk to anybody. So they structured that well, which I love.
Yeah.
And then the commander himself, not only could he give orders that everybody on that squad could see on the map, on their map and screen. So it was like if they told you to defend here, you saw it on your map, whether you were squad leader or squad member. If you, and also the commander could, he could set up UAV anywhere that a squad leader would ask. He could set up, he could shoot artillery on any target that anybody decided. And he could also do like a radar blast over the entire map, which would basically highlight every enemy player on the map for a few seconds. And what that would do is it would allow the commander, once that radar went off, he could go in the map and zoom in, and he could find snipers or whatever, and he could call out specific players. So if there was a sniper that nobody could find, it was important that the commander zoom in and use that and like highlight where the sniper is so somebody could go out there and take him out. So that was like critical. So good commanders, they knew that that's what they had to do. Mm-hmm. They had to call out snipers. They had to call out people that were coming and taking out stuff. And on top of that, they even had it set up where on every map you had, I guess you could call it physical assets on each side of the map for each commander. That if the other team disabled, then you lost access to, the commander would lose access to those features. So if you destroy the artillery guns on the map, they can't use artillery for a while. Mm-hmm. You destroy the radar hut, they can't use the radar anymore. You destroy the UAV shed, they can't use the UAV for a while. And the only way you can get those assets back is if an engineer comes in and repairs it.
Yeah.
So that's why most of the times a commander, if he was doing it right, a commander would be an engineer so that if somebody destroyed it, he could be the one that could go and repair it. So it added so many levels to how you could contribute to a battle and to a match and everything. And like you said before, it was a point system. So you didn't have to be getting kills in order to get points.
Yeah.
And so there was just so many levels to how you could strategize to win each map and everybody. Mm-hmm. And because of all those different roles, all those different ways that you could attack or defend or communicate, and help or resupply and all this other kind of stuff. Dude, I spent so much time playing that game. It was so, and the maps were made perfectly. So that
I wonder if I have
every
this game
class,
on Origin.
every class
selling the hell out of this game right now.
The what?
I said, I wonder if I maybe have a copy of this game on Origin or something, because you are selling the hell out of this game right now.
I mean, I think that's the problem though, because even if you could get it today, I don't think anybody would be playing it. I think I take
custom
that back.
servers and all that. I doubt that.
You'd find custom servers, but the problem with custom servers is you're going to be playing on another clan server. And a lot of times on another clan server isn't always that fun because that clan, either they're always playing on it and they're cheating, or, you know what I mean? Custom servers were kind of wishy-washy depending, if you knew that clan or something like that, and there were a lot of people playing, the experience was typically fun. But sometimes it was a hit or miss, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that sounds all very crazy, but very interesting. I know exactly why I didn't play it though, because it came out in 2005. I didn't have a computer yet that can run it.
Yeah, it was pretty intense for computers back then. So I was lucky enough to be able to, one of my last computers that I had back then that could run games, could run Battlefield really well. Mm-hmm. And Battlefield 2142 was basically the same thing. They had a couple of new modes in there, but they're nothing really to write home about.
And what was it,
2142?
42,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a big,
I liked it because it had mechs in it. I love mechs.
Yeah.
So being able to run around the mech
and everything, which is interesting because they actually ended up doing that before Call of Duty. Once again, Battlefield kind of being on the front side of things, although to also be fair, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is not that futuristic. It's only supposed to be a few years in the future. It's supposed to be more like modern times.
Yeah, Modern Warfare was pretty much current for when it came out.
Yeah.
The only thing that was, I guess you could say, futuristic about it was some of the equipment they had in it wasn't necessarily in common use in all the different military branches. It was like stuff that they had, but not every soldier had access to, I guess you would say.
Yeah, like when
it wasn't common battlefield equipment. It was like
when Call of Duty
some of it was modern.
When Call of Duty 4 came out, it was 2007, and I think the game's story is supposed to take place in like 2012.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty close.
Right.
Okay. Before we start going on to the Modern Warfare stuff, because that changes a lot.
It does.
I just want to say, Sean, have you played any of these early games?
Nope.
Okay. So no Call of Duty 1 through 3.
No. I have seen gameplay of World at War. That's the only one that I have any semblance of experience with. And as
a lot of great memories there too.
Yeah. And as far as Battlefield is concerned, Battlefield 3 is the earliest one I've had experience with.
Okay.
So right now you're looking at Modern Warfare on is where I actually have experience.
Okay.
Before then, it's all Greek to me.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. You know what? I didn't have a whole lot of experience with a lot of the early Battlefield stuff, but the thing is though is that because I just like I care about this kind of stuff. Even though I haven't played the early Battlefields, I have gone back and like seen videos of gameplay and like did research and what it did. So like BJ has like firsthand experience and he and all the things that it does. I have heard about this stuff and I know the importance of Battlefield 2, even though I haven't actually played it myself. So just that.
Yeah, I miss it.
And then there's the 2140, whatever the hell I can never remember the name of, and that's the one I actually have no research on or whatever because all I know is that it was supposed to be like this weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I enjoyed it just because it was futuristic, but it was kind of weird.
I lumped that game in with a couple of other games that kind of came out around that time, right before Modern Warfare, where they tried to do something futuristic with certain IPs. And it just was kind of weird. I lump it in also with the enemy territory games that started coming out from id, Quake Wars and stuff like that, Wolfenstein Wars or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, they also were trying to do the same thing, and all of those games were just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was
not necessarily bad, just weird.
Yeah,
and around the time when they released it, it was pretty close to, if not around the same time as when Call of Duty Modern Warfare dropped. So
it was the year
that's
before.
Another reason why it kind of got washed out.
Yeah, it was the year before. It came out the same year as Call of Duty 3.
Yeah.
So that was 2006.
Yeah. So it kind of got washed out by Call of Duty 4.
Well, that year was 3, but I think that year was just maybe kind of strange. There was the launch year of the PlayStation 3.
That was a weird time.
And the Wii. So maybe that's what it was, because the Wii became a
maybe phenomenon. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah. It probably was more so that. Yeah.
And then we weren't sure about how, next gen gaming was going to end up panning out. Because at first, if you remember, like the Xbox 360, everyone's like, oh, this is just Xbox 1.5. It doesn't look that much better. People were saying that was not true. But that's what everyone was thinking at the time. And then PC gaming, everyone kept thinking that it was going to die. And then that's when...
Now that I think about it, when did like Halo 2 come out? Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
2004.
2004? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have kickstarted that craze because Halo 2 was kind of like a pioneer in terms of console multiplayer.
Console multiplayer exploded when that came out.
Yeah, I think that
had a more futuristic, a more space age-y artistic direction.
Yeah.
That's where you could see a lot of influence come through with a lot of your Battlefield 2142s and whatever type of futuristic games were coming out around that time.
Enemy territory.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
I think that's probably what did it. I think that stole a lot of fire from a lot of games when that was going on.
I think it was that. I think it was the Wii. I think because at that point everyone thought PC was going to die because Steam was not a thing yet. Although there was Half-Life 2 and everyone loved it, to be fair. But I don't know. Maybe everyone thought that was going to be like, this is the last hurrah.
Yes.
Kind of was. I mean.
In a way it was, at least for Valve.
Yeah.
As a developer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although they say they want to keep making games now, but we'll see. Okay, and then 2007 happens. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare comes out. It blows everyone's freaking minds. I got that game. I loved it. I remember going back to it later on. I don't love it anymore.
I had two. Well, for me, it was two stages. When it first came out, and then when hackers got a hold of it. And that's basically the downfall of Modern Warfare. When it first came out and everybody was hot and heavy on it, that was like one of those games where basically it was the only reason why a lot of people had, a gaming console around that time frame, because it was that big and it played that well. It was so, and I say this a lot, and this is what makes a lot of good shooters good. It had great balance. If you had somebody that was good on either side of the field, whenever they dropped in, you noticed it, so that you could actually swing a battle with one or two people as long as they were good. Right. But if you knew how to use all of the equipment, and you pretty much had decent access to all of it when you first started, if I remember correctly. If you knew how and when to use the right kits or whatever to counter somebody else, like, oh, he's a good sniper. How do I get rid of him without getting sniped in the head 15 million times? Oh, that's what these smoke grenades are for. I'm going to lob these over there just to give us time to run over there. That kind of thing. They balanced it so well with all the equipment. And I don't even think there weren't score streaks back then, were there?
I don't think so. Like perks and all that stuff? No.
Yeah, I don't think it had score streaks and attack choppers and other kind of crap when you got 4 kills.
No, it was just,
that was beforehand.
Into this place and like freaking go.
Right, it was just go at it, right? So it was like matches could be heaven. You could do really, really well, and then all of a sudden somebody could figure out what it is that you're doing that's killing them or taking them out so well. Like somebody's camping in just the right spot. Once you figured out how to take them out of that spot and they couldn't get back to it, all of a sudden the whole match could like reverse, and then the other side could all of a sudden just start spanking your ass because that one person couldn't get to that one camping spot. And it worked out really, really well. They balanced the maps really, really well. Snipers could snipe on just about every map. Snipers were annoying, but once you figured out where they were and could take them out, you could have free reign again. So, it was a skill. And then all of a sudden, that's when you started having all these different weird things. That's when you started having no scope, snipers.
360 no scope and
right. And all the hackers that were figuring out ways to glitch underneath the ground and be able to shoot you, but you not be able to shoot them and stuff like that. That's the point when Modern Warfare was not fun anymore, because people were finding those kind of glitches, or they were finding ways that they could, I forget what it was called. It was one of those where if they could recognize who was the host, then that person that was the host could figure out a way to do some kind of cheat or whatever that would allow them to be able to force some kind of weird cheat or glitch or whatever on the other side, so that every shot was a headshot, or weird stuff like that. So once they figured out that stuff, it wasn't fun anymore.
Okay, first off, let me ask you something. Were you playing the game mostly on PC?
No, I was playing
360?
Modern Warfare, Call of Duty on the 360.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Did the 360 allow for private servers?
No, it wasn't for private servers, but because of the way that they had multiplayer set up back then, and I think this was even true on Halo 2. Yeah, I think it was also true on Halo 2. Until they figured out ways to have their own servers or whatever to do it. I think they had it set up in a way where they would force a host on one particular console, on like one player's particular console, and then most of the other players were basically pinging onto that player's console.
Right.
So that was kind of like I was saying. That's kind of how they figured out ways.
Okay.
Right. And then I think after that version of Call of Duty, I think they moved to just having their own service. I think I can't remember if it was that one or if it was by Modern Warfare 2. I can't remember. But the multiplayer structure changed not too long after, because they realized it's hard for them to be able to stop that. And that's why people stopped playing it.
I never ran into that much on multiplayer, but I never played that much multiplayer on Modern Warfare because that's when I found out that I am not good at shooters, because I can't learn what to do when I only die in 1 or 2 shots. I can learn when it's something like, for example, Unreal. Unless you're getting shot by a rocket launcher, it takes a while for you to die, right?
Well,
which then I can be like, oh shit, and then I can figure out where they are at, and then I can fight back. I can get behind cover. I can do something. You can do the same thing in Halo, because once again, you don't die right away.
Yes.
Because in Call of Duty, you die really quickly, even if you're just getting shot in the stomach.
You do. I think
you don't. I can't learn what I'm doing. I just don't have the reflexes for it.
That's why, and I think this is probably true with most shooters. If you really want to be good at playing shooters, and especially any of the recent ones or whatever, you kind of have to go in with a crew, people that you know and or trust. Where you have at least one person that you know is going to be the anchor for the rest of the team. Because what that affords you is anytime you go in and you start playing, you already know what each one of your friends or whatever can do or can't do, and what guns they like to use or don't like to use. So that when you go in and out of matches on every map, you're able to see what the other team is doing and know why your team is losing. Whereas if you're just going in by yourself, then the only way you know why you're losing is if you're running around behind one of your teammates and seeing what they're doing.
I did have one friend who could probably have done that for me. Although at the same time, even though he liked Call of Duty, he liked Counter-Strike more. And so he's always kind of like, this is good, but I want to play this instead.
Yeah.
But Shawn, did you play multiplayer on Modern Warfare, the first one?
It was a long time ago.
Oh no, me. Same here.
It was.
This was back in like college parties when people would bring over their 360s and just pop in Modern Warfare on it. But based off of what both of you are saying, this comes to what I consider my fundamental truth about Call of Duty and about Battlefield. Call of Duty is very much more arcadey. If we were to compare it to the two, I'm just going to call it titans of
military
Fortnite
shooters.
and PUBG.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
If we were to basically like kind of compare like those two, Call of Duty is like the Fortnite in that it's not very serious, it's very arcadey, and
don't tell the pro players that, but continue.
No, even then, like.
No, I know what you're saying. I agree with you. In the way you're describing it. But go ahead.
Yeah. And it's really just, if you die, you mostly die in one hit, but it's very in and out. It's very much you get downed, you respawn, you get right back to it. Battlefield is a bit more methodical. It's a bit more tactical. And that's why I also compare it to PUBG. And another reason I compare it to PUBG is because that has vehicles mostly. Whereas Call of Duty, because you are specializing in that basically die and jump back in action, you don't get that type of, okay, I'm dying, can you revive me? Hey, I'm running out of bullets. Where's the support guy? Hey, I'm dying really bad. Where's the medic? You've got those type of classes all working together. And it even goes back to the game modes. The game modes that you see Battlefield really excel in are those type of domination modes where you're working together as a team to control a point. Whereas Call of Duty, it's your deathmatch. It's your team deathmatch. It's your how many kills can I get? I'm going to rack up the kills so I can get a kill streak and then murder all y'all guys.
Yeah.
Whereas Battlefield is, no, we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mentioned this a little bit before. Call of Duty 4, its campaign.
Was that the? Now let me think. Oh, okay.
This is
go
the
ahead,
very
go ahead.
first one in the Modern Warfare trilogy. Your Soap, McTavish, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Captain Price, the new Captain Price, the one that's modern day with the mustache that goes like this.
Yeah.
That's what I remember about him. And everyone talks about that campaign. Everyone says how amazing it is, and like the very first mission, going into the boat and everything. Everyone loves that campaign. Everyone adores that campaign.
Honestly, I don't remember the campaign in Modern Warfare that much. The only part I even remember is being in the C-130 or whatever, and like blasting ground targets, and that was like my favorite part. Was that 1 or 2? That might have been 2, actually.
Yeah.
Is that the one where you're in the helicopter? It's like in black and white, and you're just shooting down.
Yeah.
I think that's about that one.
I'm pretty sure that was 1.
Okay, then that's the one I'm thinking. I think that's like the one part that I remember. That and having to run through, like, are you running through? You're basically in part of it running through a suburb, right? You go through. I can't even remember now.
Is it a suburb in America or?
Yeah, it's suburb in America. Yeah.
Are you talking about Nuketown?
Talking about what?
Nuketown.
No, not the map. I'm talking about in the actual campaign.
Yeah.
Like part of the storyline you're running through.
I'm pretty sure that was also 1.
Yeah, you're running through. I think so. Because I remember part of it you had to defend. You had to defend at like a burger. I think it was called like a Burger Town. It was because I remember it was hilarious.
I could have sworn that was 2.
It might be 2 now.
Okay, well, anyway, this is all kind of going into what I'm about to say.
Back into my mind.
This is all kind of feeding into what I'm about to say after I'm done talking about the campaign. Mm-hmm. But just to wrap up the campaign a little bit, everyone talks about this campaign. Everyone specifically talks about the mission where you're in the ghillie suit and you're having to snipe someone while you're on enemy territory.
I think I remember doing it.
That was in Modern Warfare 4 or 2 or 1, Call of Duty 4.
Yes.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Yes.
I hate that mission.
I hate it. It was fun to me.
Because then afterwards your partner gets hurt, so you have to carry him along while you're trying to shoot, and you're so slow.
Yeah, that was kind of bad. But I enjoyed that. It was fun.
And but the point is though is that everyone remembers that mission finally. I do not. That's why I was saying before my opinion is outside of the norm.
No, I'm sure there are more people that agree with you.
Probably,
sure.
yeah.
Well, sure, but the thing is though is like the prevailing opinion is that Modern Warfare 1 is a groundbreaking game that changed the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, it did. The sales were ridiculous.
Yeah, and it absolutely did, although if you go back to it, I would argue it's not as good as you remember it.
It started a paradigm.
It was as good as I remember it. Like I said, it just
but
mainly
you remember it badly.
It was the thing I remember the most about it, and I remember this in part because one of my close friends that I played it a lot with, he bought the remastered version of it just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
And what it reminded him was the map design for Call of Duty Modern Warfare was top notch. And it was at that time, you could see how great map design could make or break a shooter. And for a lot of people, it really didn't dawn on them to how good or bad Halo and Halo 2 were until Modern Warfare came out, because of how quickly a match could swing one way or the other if somebody knew the map well and knew how to use certain types of weaponry well based on what map they were actually on. Whereas like on a Halo game, it didn't matter what map you were on. All you had to do is get to the right weapon, and you could take out the other team more so than the other team, right? That's basically how a Halo match would go.
I suppose. I mean, there's some maps I remember fondly.
Yeah, I mean, it had good maps, but that wasn't what made Halo great. You didn't look at it and say the map design actually changed the way that you would play depending on what map it was. For Halo, it was strictly get the best gun that's on that map and do the most damage that you can on just about every map. Of course, some weapons were better on some maps than others, but everybody basically had the same weapons on Halo. Yeah. Call of Duty was different in that map, if you were inside, if it was mostly inside and you're running around, then you knew that for the most part, you're not going to have a whole bunch of people running around with sniper rifles because there would be no place for you to do that. Yeah. You could use the shotgun, you could use submachine gun, and you'd be able to rack up kills if in a close quarters environment. But you get in some places a little bit more wide open. Snipers can have a field day. Submachine gun guys will have a problem because they have to get closer in order to have the accuracy they need. And the maps were built as such. And they even had some maps where it allowed for all different classes of the weaponry to be able to be used if you stayed in a certain region of that map. But it was the map, that was just a case study in really, really, really good map design. And like I said, a lot of that and the energy behind it after I'd say maybe halfway through the life of the game was destroyed by hackers. Yeah. Once they started finding ways to cheat and make the experience so that when you jumped in that you got slaughtered every time you got in the game, it just wasn't fun. Yeah. And a lot of times you couldn't even realize that the other team was cheating unless you had been playing a whole lot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that was the thing. It was a lot of times it would be so subtle that unless you were somebody that played that game a whole lot, you didn't even realize that the other team was cheating or another person on the other team was cheating.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. So that's Modern Warfare. There's a lot to it, and it's fair because it was such a big game and everything. And I have my different opinions about it because one, I wasn't into the multiplayer, and two, the campaign now because I liked it back then, but now it doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up well.
But we go to the battlefield, and in 2007 they released.
See, which one was it? No, they released something just about every year. And most of the time, the way they would do it is they do expansions. They had an expansion for 2142 in 2007.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, what are you talking about?
Wait, what was the expansion? Northern Strike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a booster pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more stuff and that's fine and everything, but that's not really like a major release. I didn't get into Road to Rome or the Secret Weapon stuff for 1942 because it's just more of the same, which is fine.
It took me a while to get into it. It's just more weapons, more vehicles.
Yeah, which is fine, but it's not a significant move. But they saw that. I'm pretty sure what we have happen is we have EA looking at what happened with Call of Duty and go, oh, maybe we should do that instead. And this is where I think our conversation is going to get a lot more quicker because I would argue that ever since then, Battlefield has been trying to catch up with Call of Duty ever since, even though they don't have to. But this is where it starts. And it begins in 2008 when we get Battlefield Bad Company. I've played that game. It's the most fine whatever game I've ever freaking played. Well, no, that's not true. But the point is, though, is that it's so just there that it could not exist, and I wouldn't know what to tell you.
The moral of this story, gentlemen, is that Esteban does not like shooters.
No, I just want fucking Unreal to come back because I liked Unreal Tournament. Shut up.
Here's what I thought about Bad Company. Just like you said, EA was like, we've got to get Battlefield onto a console in a big way. So they spent a lot of money on trying to do something that had their whole thing was supposed to be use the environment to your advantage in a battle, right? On top of trying to bring the whole Battlefield experience on a console. Once they realized that, you know, the 360 or whatever generation it was, wasn't quite powerful enough to get the multiplayer dynamics the way that they wanted it, they did concentrate on just basically using a physics engine. So this was like their first foray into what was their engine? The Frostbite engine. So, you know, they developed the Frostbite engine. I think that was the first time
they used that.
And that was where you're able to blow up parts of a building, you know, to bring it down on your foes and all this other kind of stuff. And Bad Company wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
But you could definitely, if you were a fan of Battlefield 2 on the PC, then Battlefield Bad Company was, you know, it was kind of like it was just kind of like, ew.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Exactly. So, you know, I don't want to say real fans of Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 2142 looked at it and they threw up. That's basically what happened.
I think the word that we're looking here is rough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rough. That's how you would describe it, because again, EA was looking at Activision and be like, that's popular. We need to get on that gravy train. And the start of that road, you're going to hit a few road bumps, and
boy, did they.
And they did. And the weird thing, though, is, like I said, I think they've been trying to do that ever since, and they haven't stopped. Even though they have gone back to a little bit of what made Battlefield unique back in the day, I still feel like they're still chasing after that Call of Duty money, and that's what they want.
Well,
so that's why we can streamline things, because I this is why we're going to be able to streamline things in this conversation from here on out, because one, EA keeps doing that to this day, and two, as I've mentioned before in the podcast before, after Modern Warfare hits, Activision at this point is just going to continue trying to sell you the same game over and over again.
Yep. Here is where I disagree with you, because they were doing that up until a specific game came out. And then I think the roles reversed hard.
Okay.
And that's what Battlefield 1. When Battlefield 1 came out, and EA said, okay, with Battlefield, we're going to go back. We're going to do World War I. We're going to do it right. Because this was at the time where they had, I think, Infinite Warfare.
Yes.
That came out. Yeah.
I don't think that was the same. Is it? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Battlefield 1 came out 2 years ago, and that's when Infinite Warfare came out, because last year was World War II,
exactly.
And this year is whatever the hell it is, Black Ops
4. Yeah, Black Ops 4.
Yep. So a lot of people were saying that it was because of the announcement and the hype behind Battlefield
1
that you see that type of, okay, we're the big dogs on top. That's why Activision said, okay, we need to go back. We need to go back to World War II, because at that time we had the reverse of that paradigm. Right. We had the reverse of, I'm sick and tired of this stupid modern
futuristic stuff.
Yeah, semi-futuristic stuff with this. Let's go back to World War II, and then
I think you have a point.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a slight pin in that, if I may, so we can get there.
I'm going to eat your pin. But go ahead.
Is that hurting me?
No, that's hurting me because that pin is sharp.
Yeah.
So just
Look, no,
myself
we
in the
will
process.
get there quick because we're going to talk about the game and it's like, yep, same thing. Yep, same thing. But just to catch up, just to get there. So Battlefield Bad Company happens. It's rough. Everyone's lukewarm in it, and then Battlefield Bad Company 2 comes out. And my understanding of that game is that everyone loved it.
Bad Company 2 was actually pretty good. Yeah, I think what did it for Bad Company 2, they couldn't quite get, again, they were still trying to get the hardware to be able to handle the Battlefield concept. So
I remember they ended up getting the destruction pretty well.
they got the destruction really, really well. They got the map size to the point where vehicles made a difference. And I think the thing that ultimately restricted Bad Company 2 from really making a huge dent was there wasn't a lot of game balance on the map design.
Okay.
So a lot of the problems you would have is if it was clear as to which side was better in terms of who had the better players, that's when you'd have, and I hate the term, but this is a term we all know that's been used in shooters, base rate. So, any time that you would spawn, if you were clearly losing, there would be no way that the losing team could find a way to win, because every 2 or 3 seconds after you spawn, you die, because the winning team would be surrounding your initial base, and there'd be no way for you to escape. So because of that map design, I think that's ultimately what ended up being, I don't want to even say the downfall of Bad Company 2, but that was the one of the things that kind of separated it.
What hurt its longevity.
What hurt its longevity. Yeah. But it was a very big step in the right direction for the console version of Battlefield.
Yeah, there's a reason why I still hear people being like, "Do you think they're going to announce Bad Company 3?"
No, there's no need to.
I know, but there's people who want that.
I don't understand why. Well, let me rephrase. I understand why. A part of the reason why people like Bad Company 2 was because their single player mode, I seem to remember it was done in a way where it was kind of lighthearted.
It was. I played through.
It didn't have a very serious tone to it, and people enjoyed that because it didn't quite take itself seriously, even though it was kind of a, realistic shooter kind of thing. And I think a lot of people liked/missed that about that game.
Yeah, it followed the story of this platoon, and then also it also kind of technically ended on a cliffhanger. So technically there hasn't been an end to that story. But yeah, I remember that. I went through the campaign. I remember it being fine. It was fun. It looked good and everything. I also, and this is probably just me because I never hear anyone talk about this, but there were some, hardcore, like Republican undertones in that campaign.
Oh, I didn't play enough of it to even notice, but I don't doubt it. Sure.
Yeah, but it's like like the pilot is like this hippie pacifist who is always looked down upon, and he's the only one who dies, and and it's only like the bad guy is somewhat effeminate, and the good guys are the good guys because they see all these like really, really like macho kind of things, and they're like meathead and stuff. I'm like, there's a
yeah, I didn't get into the single player, the story mode of Bad Company 2 that much, just mainly because that wasn't the reason why I was getting it.
Yeah,
because that was around the time frame when my PC wasn't able to run good shooters, which was good because Battlefield on PC didn't really exist around that time frame. They put all their resources into the console.
The console.
They didn't release another version of Battlefield on the PC until 3.
Yeah.
Of any significance. I think they had some other little versions.
We're about to get to that. Going back over to Call of Duty, around this time in 2008, they released World at War.
Woohoo!
which was not bad, but
It
it
was
did not.
awesome.
But
Oh,
it
God.
did not. It did not do the numbers that Modern Warfare did.
Oh, hell no, it
The
didn't.
writing
But
was
it
on the
was
wall.
fun. Oh my God. I used to, that was another one of those games that was the downfall of it was damn cheaters. But it was so much fun. I enjoyed playing that game so much.
I remember my friend saying, "Oh, I played this game at my friend's house. I'm gonna go and get a copy for my console." And I was like, "But you only have the Wii." I was like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." I'm like, "No, it won't. Don't get that." It was like, "Why don't you come to the GameStop with me and get it?" I'm like, "Don't get that game." And it's like, "Just come with me." It's like, "Okay, I'm gonna come with you so you cannot get that game." He's like, "No, I'm gonna get it." It's like, "Dude, do not get that game." He's like, "I'm gonna get that game." He goes over there, and the entire way I'm like, "Don't do this." And he goes, $50. Who cares? I got paid. Brings it home. He's like, "Oh, you have your Wii, right? Let's start playing." I'm like, "God damn it, man! I told you." And he comes on. He's like, "Hey, let's play 2-player." I'm like, "Look, there's no 2-player." And I turn it on, and all it is just a cursor. You can point at stuff and shoot. And it's like, "Why can't you move?" I'm like, "There's no. Why don't you listen to me?"
It's like, I told you.
And eventually he's like, "Oh, this sucks." I'm like, "Why isn't it like that?" Don't listen to me.
Poor guy.
Don't listen to me.
Poor
I ended up
guy.
helping him out though. I sold it on him on eBay. Got most of his money back, and then afterwards he was like, "Okay, I'll just listen to you. What game should I get?" And I told him to get No More Heroes. And
No More Heroes. Did I play that?
do you remember that game?
No, I don't think I played that one.
Oh, I remember.
I remember it. I just don't remember playing it.
He said I only want one game. So I said, "Okay, get No More Heroes. It's an action game. You can run around. You have like almost a lightsaber. You know, you kill all these guys. You're gonna have a lot of fun."
Oh,
You remember that? And then you wiggle the Wii remote around like you're jerking off to be able to charge it up.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game and brand new at the time. It was only $20 because No More Heroes. Nobody bought that thing.
Right.
So I said, "Here's your money back. You even got some spare money, and you got a much better game."
Yeah.
And that's what I remember about Call of Duty World at War. But I did play a little bit of it on the 360 because I rented it, and it was fine. But it was just another one.
Yeah, I was so deep into that. Was like my serious shooter days with some of my close friends. So Call of Duty World of Warfare we spent way too much time playing that one after work. Also, it was all I remember is laughing, running around with a double barrel shotgun, blowing people's legs off, and calling the dogs on people. And oh my gosh, that game was so much fun.
Was their legs actually getting blown off? Like, did they show that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Was that when Call of Duty finally went mature? Because before it was teen.
Yes, that is when it went mature. Because I think that was a different developer than the developer that did. Then it wasn't Infinity Ward. It was
Treyarch. It was the Black Ops team.
Yes, Treyarch. All of their Black Ops games that I can remember were all graphic.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it is. Because I always remember going and showing people like Call of Duty's not violent. Look, and then I go Modern Warfare, right? And you shoot someone. I'm like, see this dead body? I unload a clip into them, and they look fine.
Yeah, it wasn't the case in World of War.
That's the Treyarch thing because that eventually stopped being a thing.
Yeah, that was definitely not a thing with any of the Treyarch versions.
But that came out, and then Modern Warfare 2 hit, and that was a big game for both good and bad reasons.
Score streak time.
This is where we had streaks. This is
nukes.
Where
dropping nukes.
Yeah, nukes. Then that was when we had the crazy campaign, including the infamous level.
Yeah,
no Russian.
What was it? The airport shooting.
No Russian.
Yeah.
The airport shooting mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have done that.
Rough.
It's rough.
It's rough. It is really rough. I remember that.
Yeah, there was all the controversy on that. I remember for a while that because they kept promoting it as Modern Warfare 2, just Modern Warfare 2, that some people thought that they were going to drop the Call of Duty name altogether and just be Modern Warfare 2. That didn't end up happening. And I also remember the controversy with PC players because they weren't getting dedicated servers, and everyone was pissed off about that. And
PC players are entitled.
And I remember how badly Activision decided to treat the creators of the series and had them get walked out. I remember that being big news on G4, being like, hey, there are armed guards at the Infinity Ward offices and they're escorting people out.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
That was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And for myself, that was the beginning of the downfall of Call of Duty.
Yep. This is where
in terms of quality, not in terms of sales, mind you.
Yeah. This is where things start getting really quick, because after that happened, I know a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of Modern Warfare 2 because there were some initial problems in the beginning, but those ended up getting fixed.
Yep.
People had a lot of fun with that. That was about the end of that, though. Then we have Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3.
Black Ops was actually really good. Mainly because it was by Treyarch. That was about when you saw the divide or the shift.
Yeah.
Instead of Infinity Ward being the better of the two, Treyarch ended up becoming the better of the two.
Yeah. And it's
Black
because
Ops
Treyarch started doing something different with the campaign.
Yeah, their campaign was mind-blowing. I love that campaign.
But
that was really, really good.
But the thing is, though, is that while I sort of agree with that, like, I've only played a little bit of the campaign, and I already am like, okay, this is already more interesting than anything I've played since Call of Duty 2. And I've only played, like, a few missions. But this is when we get to the point now where we've reached critical mass with Call of Duty, and now it's only if you're a player of Call of Duty are you really going to notice these changes, I think.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I think you're missing out on one big thing that I believe came in Black Ops, if I'm wrong, BJ. But something that was something so big that it's now overrun the campaign.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah. The zombies.
Oh,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which actually started World at War.
That was pretty big.
It started with World at War.
That's true. World at War did have zombies in it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was the previous Treyarch one.
Yep.
So, yeah, whenever that started happening, and then that started getting really popular more and more and more to the point where now Call of Duty is removing the campaign from their games.
Pretty much.
And no, they have.
They did. Yeah, there's no campaign in Black Ops 4.
Yeah, Black Ops 4 does not have a campaign.
Yeah.
I remember, was it Black Ops 3? I think it was, where they had basically they took the campaign out. They sold a version for previous gen consoles that was just zombies and online.
Yeah, they did that for the previous campaign. Yeah, the PS4 version and Xbox One and I believe PC does have a campaign though, and actually a fairly customizable campaign too. So
yeah,
but I didn't play it enough to remember.
And that did not have that type of campaign in it. So it's where you see that type of divide as well, to where now Call of Duty is focusing more on their kind of Twitch action in terms of both the multiplayer as well as the zombie mode.
Yeah.
Because now you have people that are just playing the horror mode zombies, learning the story, going through there, and then completing, the Easter egg story where it has just the secret campaign that you have to go through. So I think that if you ignore that big part of it.
No, that's fair. No, zombies is a big part of it. It
is huge.
It is.
Absolutely huge. Yeah. And I think that is the one thing that separates the COD from the Battlefield in a big way. I know that we're going to get into Battlefield in just a second.
Yeah, because we're now going to be about 2011, which is when.
It's when I start rubbing my hands again when it comes to Battlefield. I was happy. This was when I became a Battlefield fan again when Battlefield 3 dropped.
Yeah. So Modern Warfare 2 happens. Black Ops 1 happens, and Modern Warfare 3 happens.
Yep.
That's 2011, right?
Which was blah.
Yeah.
For me, it was blah, but yeah.
Yeah. I played the campaign of Modern Warfare 3. I thought it was actually kind of decent just because I felt like, okay, I actually got closure here.
Yeah.
Even though the story was dumb, I'm like, oh my god, they actually did an ending that actually felt like an ending. I was expecting something dumb because
I didn't even I don't even remember touching the single player mode on Modern Warfare 3. I strictly did multiplayer. I think that was one of the first ones that I did that with.
Also, whenever the bad guy dies by getting their neck snapped, I'm always happy about that.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but the main bad guy in Modern Warfare 3 is he gets hung, and not like waiting there. It's clearly his neck got snapped just from the velocity of falling.
Yeah.
Oh snap! I do remember that.
I get it. Snap.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Gets it?
Yes. Yeah.
It's satisfying. It's satisfying. I'm like, okay, that was pretty good. Thank you.
He was like, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then the multiplayer was multiplayer. Fucking who cares? And but I do think Modern Warfare 3 was the first time that they had aliens. Their version of zombies.
Oh, was that it?
I don't think it was in Modern Warfare 2.
Infinity War didn't start doing zombies.
I'm pretty sure it was Modern Warfare 3 because whenever World at War did it, it wasn't as popular like you were saying. But when Black Ops did zombies, it blew up.
Yeah.
Because I remember that was a huge thing when Black Ops first came out. So then Infinity Ward started putting it in that game as well.
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, but they didn't do zombies. They did, I think it was aliens.
Hold on. I've got him looking it up here.
Yeah, I can't say I remember it that well.
You know what? I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Let's see, Modern Warfare 3.
This
Elite? No, that was that weird thing they were trying to do.
It was Special Ops.
Oh, okay. Special Ops.
I remember Special Ops.
They did aliens later. They changed it to aliens later.
Nazi zombies.
Yeah, that was the original one. It was zombies, which was always Nazi zombies because it was World War II in World War. So you had Nazi zombies. But it's 2011, and now Call of Duty is the one that's kind of faltering a little bit.
Yeah,
because Modern Warfare 3
that was because, like I said, like just like Esteban was saying, that was the time frame when people recognized that the real minds behind the Call of Duty's success with Infinity Ward were no longer there.
Yeah, that game was a hodgepodge between Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, which was new at the time. Yeah,
and I honestly, and I said this before earlier in the thing, I honestly think that you could, for people that played a lot of Call of Duty, the way that they were able to determine that was in part because, of just how the controls were, but also more so the map design. You could see it in the map design in Modern Warfare 3. The maps aren't as well liked and loved as in some of the previous Call of Duty games.
Yeah,
because it just wasn't as balanced as well.
Sean, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it was Call of Duty Ghost that had the aliens.
Ghost.
Oh, it was Ghost.
Oh. We'll get
to that and then pass right by really quickly. But right now, but it's 2011. Modern Warfare 3 dropped. It's meh. Perfect time for EA to be like, well, we can do it better. Enter Battlefield 3.
Oh, boy, dude. I almost shed tears when Battlefield 3 came out because it was the first time on a console.
God damn it, I forgot one.
That the true spirit of Battlefield Battlefield was really there.
Stop your gushing. I forgot one.
Which one did you forget? Daggone it, man.
Okay, well, some of them I can pass over. There was like Battlefield Heroes, Battlefield Online, Battlefield Played Free, whatever the fuck, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, nobody.
But I forgot about Battlefield 1943.
Nobody cared about that either.
I played it. It was fun.
See, the problem I get that it was fun, but you know why no one cared about it? Because it was like the entry right before Battlefield 3 came. Because they were working on a new engine. They were like, oh, we still kind of want to use the last little bits of what we were trying to do on this Frostbite engine before we drop the new Whamma Jamma Frostbite 2 engine.
That is very wrong. Battlefield 1943 came out 2 years before Battlefield 3.
Yes, I know. And they were in development on the Frostbite 2 engine, is what I'm saying. Battlefield 1943 was on the old Frostbite engine. And they were going to drop it on the old Frostbite engine as they were still working on the new Frostbite engine for Battlefield 3.
Okay.
So they dropped it, and it was supposed to tide you over so that you could get to the new Frostbite Whamma Jamma Battlefield 3 engine. I remember it distinctly because I only played Battlefield 1943 a little bit. It was still good.
I guess.
It was still good, but it wasn't like it was a full Battlefield big Whamma Jamma blockbuster release.
Oh, I'm aware of that. Aware of that. It's just I don't think 2 years is like, it's just a warm up. No.
It was. No, because the reason why it was
the same year that Bad Company 2 came out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The reason why I say that is because they were trying to figure out at that time whether or not they were going to put Battlefield 3 on that Frostbite engine or whether they were going to wait until they did the new big Whamma Jamma. And when they dropped 1943, that was when they made that decision. They were like, you know what? We'll drop this on this Frostbite engine that we have now, and we'll wait and then drop Battlefield 3 on the new Frostbite engine.
Okay.
And that was because I remember they talked it up in the press and all this other kind of crap. They're like, oh, wait till you get our Frostbite 2 engine. We're working on it now. But in the meantime,
I remember that. I don't remember it being
tidbit.
I remember that. I don't remember 1943 being pitched as like the warm up though. But
no, it was the warm up.
Okay.
You could tell there wasn't enough meat in 1943 for it to be considered a full-fledged Battlefield release. There just wasn't. It was only a few maps. It was like, I can't even remember how many maps it was. It was only a few maps, and it was kind of small. I don't even remember it having vehicles.
It was an Xbox Live Arcade game.
Yeah, I don't even remember if it had vehicles in it or whatever. I don't even think it had.
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even remember, but I do remember that much. It wasn't really considered a full-fledged Battlefield release when it dropped.
Okay, well, yeah, even here, that's really weird because I'm looking at here and it is considered a spin-off, which is weird because I also remember them pitching it as a direct sequel to Battlefield 1942.
Yes,
like,
that's
that makes
very
sense.
true. But I was like, why would you even frame it in that light? Because you're clearly working on something bigger. And this game is small. You know what I mean? It was just small. That was why I was like, it's kind of on the side.
Fine, whatever. You know what? It's weird.
Let the gushing commence.
It's weird naming conventions. This is not the first time this is going to happen.
Yeah, basically.
But okay. Battlefield 3. I will say this right now. This is my favorite Battlefield.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. It was the thing I remember. To be fair, I haven't played
Battlefield 2, so it's not like I'm very, very well versed with Battlefield. But this is it's the one I actually played the most multiplayer in.
Yeah, Battlefield 3 was how do I word this? It was a graphically superior port of Battlefield 2. It honestly was. It had the physics engine portion of it where you could actually destroy structures and stuff in a tactical way. Perfect. The maps were big. They were set up in a really good way. They weren't necessarily perfect. The map design wasn't excellent, but it was still really, really good. They were memorable. And it really was the first time on a console that anybody that had played 1942 or Battlefield 2 on PC, they could honestly say, oh my gosh, this is the jammy jam. This is what Battlefield used to be on PC. This is why they didn't release a big time PC title, Battlefield title, because this is what they were working towards. This is it. And I think this was the first one that they released on both PC and console where it was the same game.
Yes.
It wasn't like pared down or whatever. It was the same game.
I mean, there was a couple of differences in how they like worked. And I think on, I want to say the Xbox 360, you couldn't play with as many players.
Right. I think like the size of the maps or whatever.
That's the only difference, which not to scoff at those differences, but they're few.
Yes. I'll put it this way. The spirit of both games was the same. The size was definitely still bigger.
And definitely, I believe the size is the same on the PlayStation 3, which is where I played it. I believe.
Yeah, I didn't have it on PlayStation 3, so I can't speak.
Yeah, it was primarily on 360.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, but it still reminds me of EA trying to be Call of Duty because of that campaign that it had, which, on another unpopular opinion, I like it.
I don't remember getting through it.
Most people say that the campaign in Battlefield 3 is not very good, and I'm not saying it's spectacular or anything, and I've definitely played better campaigns, but it's not bad. It's actually more engaging than most Call of Duty games to me. I like the way that it's structured. I like the things that you do in the actual missions is fun. They don't do that fucking thing that Call of Duty does where you have to just kill a whole bunch of fucking people until you go past just some invisible line that finally stops all the enemies. They never do that.
That is annoying.
And I like that there's a payoff at the end because the whole thing's structured like one of the soldiers being interviewed, like, you screwed up, didn't you? He's like, no, that's not what happened. Let me tell you what happened. And then afterwards, like, are we done here? Because I'm still in the middle of this. Then you break out of the interrogation room, and then you have to actually do the ending. Then it goes back into current times. I'm like, I like that. And I like that the ending is like in the middle of Times Square. So that's fun. And then this is the part where I don't have a lot of knowledge about, because this is where I got finally burned out on both series, actually. Almost immediately, they decided to release Battlefield 4.
Yeah, see, I
never played it. But I will say this, and I'm going to say this actually for the next 3 games in the Battlefield series. I've never played it, but I will probably play it pretty soon because there was a sale on PSN where they sold all they sold all the Battlefield games in a bundle really dirt cheap, and I got that. So I have Battlefield 4, Hardline, and 1 just sitting there waiting for me.
And I have my thoughts on those actually.
Yeah.
It's those other games I just don't have as many memories with because they were a long time ago. But these, I do have a bit more to say about those.
Okay.
Now go for it, man.
Do you want to just group these last few games of Battlefield and Call of Duty together?
I don't know if you can. I mean, there are some
Battlefields because god,
there's a decent amount of differences.
Well, the differences with Battlefield 1. Okay, how about we'll do this? We'll group 2011 to 2015. Okay, 2015 is when Battlefield 1 comes out. Shawn, you think that's when everything changes? I disagree with that, but we can get to there. So how about we just group 2011 to 2015?
Okay. I'm getting my timeline out of the Call of Duty games.
So that's Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline.
Yep.
And then
drastically different games, mind you.
Then you have Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Ghosts.
Black Ops 2,
good.
Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare, Ghosts.
Advanced Warfare was good.
Yeah, it was Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, and then Black Ops 3 was
Ghosts
I'm forgetting one. Infinite Warfare, and then
Infinite Warfare was god awful.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so let's do Battlefield first since we were already talking about it.
Yep. So
which one were we on?
4.
4.
Okay.
We're on 4.
So, yeah, Battlefield 4 was basically Battlefield 3.5.
Pretty much.
That's what I've heard.
With a broken engine, when it first came out, Mike.
Exactly. That's the thing about it, because they kind of rushed it out to market. It was broken. It was glitchy. It was not a good look.
It was not good. Initially, it was not good.
Yeah, I mean, they patched it up to where it's now.
Yeah, I heard that they ended up fixing it.
But it took them a while to do so.
Mm-hmm. And they even brought back my favorite mode, the Commander mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing about
that. Huge thing that they brought back, and people were really looking at. Don't remember the campaign. I don't think I ever played the campaign.
Yeah, I don't remember it that much either. I didn't play it that much.
So, however,
I'll be right back really, really quick. I just want to bring out something just to throw a wrench in everyone's face, but yeah.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Shawn, I keep forgetting. This is the one where they had the so-called like mega events in every map, right?
Yes.
Like the big skyscraper that at the beginning of the map the skyscraper's there, and then at the end of the match the skyscraper is like destroyed or something like that. Supposed to be like okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then you had Battlefield Hardline, which they shoveled out because EA is Unicron, and
and they got the Dead Space guys to do that. Why?
Because
they were trying to be like Activision
at this point.
They were trying to be like Activision.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was.
That's why, even though return to basics for Battlefield 3 and all that, like no, they're still trying to call. They're still going after Call of Duty.
Now, Lau, let me say this though. As much crap as Hardline got, I could see value in what they were trying to do. It wasn't that it was a crappy game, because the single player portion of that game was pretty good. I didn't get all the way through the story, but the way that it played was different. The way, like, just the control scheme was different than the way you played multiplayer to start off with anyways. But you honestly barely even felt like you were playing a Battlefield game, because it played so well in the story. And the story itself was pretty, it pulled you along. I didn't finish it, but it did pull me along, and I was having fun with it when I was going through it.
The reason why I feel like it is, I hesitate to even call it a mainline game. I want to say it's a spinoff, because
it is.
Kind of is. Yes.
Yeah, the Battlefield games are very much military shooters. Mm-hmm. Battlefield Hardline took a swift turn to, okay, this is a cop procedural. You are in Miami, dealing with drug dealers, going down there, hunting crocodiles, making sure you don't die, and you have a different weapon loadout. You have a different type of story campaign, because, like I said, it's a police procedural. Yep. You are playing an episode of Miami Vice in modern times.
You're not using tanks and attack choppers and whatever. You're using You're using sport cars and motorcycles.
Question. Again, I haven't played, so I don't know. I could be very, very wrong. Two things. One, I thought that game took place in LA.
I can't remember, honestly.
Two, I thought there actually was like SWAT cars and tanks in that game, because
not army tanks, APCs maybe yes, but not like army tanks and stuff that really changed the battlefield. No.
Okay, because I was gonna say, because if I thought it took place in LA, and I will tell you something
armored
about LA.
vehicles.
LA is fucking crazy. So no, and I mean, like, the police are, because especially like, and about this stuff now, that the freaking like police forces are like renting and buying freaking tanks now. Mm-hmm. That's so.
Yeah,
I thought they had that shit.
The vehicles were basically, all I'm trying to say is the vehicles that you use in Hardline are drastically different than what you'd use in a typical Battlefield game.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not completely destroying buildings and stuff with the vehicles and the weaponry that you have on your vehicles in Hardline. As you would.
Again, I haven't played it, so I wasn't sure. But I thought I saw something like that. But yeah, okay.
So in terms of whether it takes place in Miami or LA, I'm actually looking that up right now. Okay. The reason why I say it takes place in Miami is because I remember one of the set pieces where you go to the swamp and you have to fight off a crocodile or an alligator, whichever one it was.
Yeah, that's not in LA.
A crocagator.
Yeah, and it is in Miami. It is Miami, Florida.
Okay. All right, I'm wrong. That's cool.
And the story about it is basically you're a cop trying to get on the straight line. You have dirty cops in there that deals with the cartel and everything else like that. So it's very much
Miami Vice.
Yeah. Well, it's not, the 80s vibe that you get from it. You do get the feeling like this is modern Miami Vice.
Yes, modern Miami Vice
was actually a thing.
That's right. Jamie Foxx. And what was the other dude? Colin, was it Colin Farrell?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Sounds about right. The multiplayer in it was all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was basically like a scaled down version of Battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I fall in that line. It was just like, it's like Battlefield, kind of more like Call of Duty, but you did have vehicles in it. It wasn't choppers and planes and tanks. You just had ATVs and trucks,
SUVs and armored cars.
I know that Battlefield Hardline only exists because this didn't end up panning out.
Is that Warfighter?
It's true. Metal.
No, it's the first one. No, it's the first. The reboot.
They did try that. Yeah.
But what they tried to do is they tried to make Medal of Honor like the concurrent, shooter to be alongside Battlefield, so that they could have a Call of Duty style thing going. But it didn't work out because Warfighter happened and that bombed.
Yes.
But okay, so that's Battlefield up until 1. Call of Duty, we have
Ghosts.
2 mini games. We have, let me see, Black Ops 2, I believe, was the one after Modern Warfare 3.
That was lots of fun.
I heard it was fun. I never played it.
Yep.
It was another one of those. What my friends used to say is it was one of those games that separated the boys from the men, because it was another one of those games where you instantly could tell if you were good or bad at shooters. Because if you were bad, you basically got 1 or 2 kills on every single match. If you were good, you were slaughtering the other team, like 20, 30 kills a game, that kind of thing. And that was in part because they had kind of finessed the whole score streak system, that if you found ways for you to camp and get a kill here and then camp and stay alive and then wait for the right moment to get another kill and then wait, and get a couple more kills until you get your first or second kill streak, and then all of a sudden start running around and killing people because your attack chopper's in the air. That was basically how people were playing, up until that point. Yeah. So it was like if you were just a casual shooter fan or whatever, and you dropped in Blops 2 just willy-nilly, you got scraped from the beginning of the game until the end of the game, for the most part.
This is also the point when the two franchises essentially started copying each other, because now both franchises were in modern times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Black Ops 1 was during the 60s, and they kind of jumped around the place, but it wasn't modern.
Yes, that's true. It wasn't modern.
There is, I think, a couple of missions where you're not in modern times in Black Ops 2, but it's majority modern times. After that, it was Call of Duty Ghosts, Dog,
and the fish that move when you swim to them. Don't forget about the fish. The fish are very important.
I will forget about the fish. Moving on.
Unfortunately, all I can say about that game, only bright spot I saw in that game was that interesting mode where you outfitted your own little AI team and you could play against your friend's AI squad. What was it? Call of Duty Squads or something like that. It was the mode or something like
I
that.
didn't play it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You
Although, can I briefly interject with the story about Call of Duty Ghosts?
Oh, please do.
So,
You're going to space at some point?
What?
You're going to space at some point?
Oh,
really?
Well, you see, America is weak now because you have to be kind of like stealthy and everything in your home territory because Brazil took over.
Brazil took over?
No, it was the entirety of South America.
Oh, they became like their own collective or something like
they
that.
became like a superpower.
Interesting.
And they were so powerful. Apparently, America built this giant mega laser in space.
Mega laser from the Space Force?
Sure.
Yeah. And your final mission is going up there and taking back control of the mega laser that America had that South America was trying to use on us.
The Alan Parsons Project?
I am the eye in the sky looking at you.
So, yeah, if you're trying to take Call of Duty seriously, Ghost is where you kind of threw all of that out the window.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I literally played Ghosts for like maybe 2 weeks and then got rid of it.
Yeah.
But again, I did like the idea of the squads mode. It made it so that you could play a fake multiplayer kind of style where you didn't always get scraped, and you could go against your friend or this guy or that guy and actually have a chance to have an interesting match or a successful match or whatever, because you were mostly playing against AI. So that was like the whole concept where I was hoping they'd get back to that they had in Battlefield 1942, where you had bots.
Yeah.
So that you could have larger Call of Duty matches where you had players and bots. And I thought that was going to be the start of it. But apparently it was the start and the finish, because we never saw a mode like that again.
Well, it's because Ghost failed.
Yeah, Ghost was
although to be fair,
off.
that's still fair reasoning, because Ghost was the first time we got the zombies. Or not zombies, but aliens version of zombies, and they continued that.
Interesting.
So they decided, out of all the things to take from that, it was that. Next one.
Sure, why not?
The next game is Advanced Warfare, aka Kevin
The one
Spacey.
with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, the one with Kevin Spacey, which was cool at the time.
I actually had a lot of fun with Advanced Warfare.
AKA, if I'm not mistaken, the one that coined the term press F to pay respects.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was the one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sledgehammer this was Sledgehammer's first Call of Duty. And
first one.
I think this was the first one was this the first wall running one?
This is the very first futuristic one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I was.
Well, I mean, how do you want
to?
Well, technically, how do you want to categorize Ghost? Is that futuristic or?
A
shit show?
Yes, that's how we categorize it. Yes. Yeah. A dumpster fire, whatever you want
to. Sure. Fine.
Yeah, one of those.
Fine. We'll just say Advanced Warfare is the first futuristic one. That's fine.
Yeah. But it did well. It had Kevin Spacey and Troy Baker. And, everyone was happy that Call of Duty finally returned to its former glory, whatever you want to call it.
It was a year off, but fine.
Yeah.
I can sort of agree to that. I have it. I have played it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished it or anything, and I haven't touched the multiplayer, but I have it because I was intrigued by the story because of Kevin Spacey. Because back then he was just a good actor.
Yeah, that's very true.
True. Yeah, he was fresh off of House of Cards, so yeah,
he was. Yeah. It had the exosuits.
And to be fair, he's still a good actor. It's just there's other stuff that's problematic now.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that Call of Duty. Had a lot of fun with it. It was very good.
After that one was Black Ops 3.
Black Ops 3, yeah.
It's actually that's the one I played the most recent Black Ops 3.
I didn't really play it that much. I played it a little bit.
I can't talk too much about the multiplayer. The campaign is the most diverse I've ever seen it, but it's not very good. Well,
Yeah.
let me put it this way. It's not that it's bad. It's just the story itself and the missions are very basic, what you would expect. But the thing that's cool about it is that you can be a boy or a girl. You can change your loadout. You can buy upgrades. Like, this is more than most campaigns usually do in Call of Duty. So in that way, I'm like, okay, there's more things happening here. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think Black Ops 3 was the first one on the multiplayer side for Treyarch, where they started using what they use now in Black Ops 4, which is the different, rather than calling them classes, they were using individual characters that each had their own like special attack or special equipment that only that character could use. So each of the, instead of classes, it was, it was like, oh, this is flamethrower guy, this is sniper girl, I forget what the actual names of the people were.
Right.
So they were trying to break away from, hey, you got this class system or whatever. They were like, okay, you've got these distinct characters that you could play as that have their own equipment.
Right.
And which was at the time was fresh, was new. I appreciate it. And it was that kind of innovation, I guess. That
reminds me of just how it used to be in Unreal Tournament, but okay.
Well, for Call of Duty, I mean, in
terms
of what we were used to playing in the Call of Duty games.
Sure.
Because I think the whole thing that Infinity Ward was doing, where the system for making custom classes was getting very, very laborious. You had to assign perks, and each perk cost a certain amount, and each gun cost a certain amount, an attachment cost a certain amount, and if you reached a certain max amount of points, then you couldn't change that custom class anymore. And it got so intense, and there was so much going on with it. I just, a lot of casual fans were just looking at the system like, I have no idea what's going on. I just want a submachine gun with attachment on. What is all this other stuff going on? And it was really, really off-putting, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. No, I see that. Okay, so that brings us to 2015, and we're going to be finally wrapping things up. God damn, there's a lot of games in these franchises. And we've even skipped over some. Like, I didn't even talk about like any of the portable Call of Duty games, declassified, all that kind of crap.
It's because nobody played them.
Yeah.
Nobody played them.
Okay, so... all right, so, okay, I disagree with this, but I can still sort of see where Sean's coming from. Battlefield 1 and Infinite Warfare, there they are. Okay, Sean feels that this is a turning point because this is where Battlefield takes over. Battlefield 1, from what I've heard, is a pretty good game.
It's a gorgeous game.
I've played one war story. That's all I've done. That's it. It's because I just bought it recently, I just popped it in really quick and I tried a war story and that was it. I went through the tank one. It was fine.
Yeah, that's the introduction one.
Yeah, that's the introduction one.
Well, I did technically, because it technically counts as its own war story. I did the opening huge battle that you die and you keep switching from character to character. That's technically the introduction.
Yeah, that's technically that's the prelude.
Yeah, and then I did the tank one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that's all I've played of it so far, because Spyro Reignited Trilogy came out, and I'm but yeah. So I've heard it's good. It was beautiful. I will say that it looked gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, I love explosions in that game. It looks so great.
Yeah.
It's such a gorgeous game to just.
But I haven't touched multiplayer. I haven't touched any of the other modes. I have played a little bit of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare via a demo that they have. There's a demo on PSN where it's the full game, and you can just play however long you want for like an hour or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say anything about it because I heard enough about it to know that I didn't want to buy it and waste any time on it.
from the time I spent with the campaign, I also thought it was pretty decent as well. I thought it was kind of interesting how much in the future they were going. But again, both games I clearly have not spent a whole lot of time with. So, what do you guys think?
I have the hiccups. Sorry. The reason why I harp on the fact that I think Battlefield 1 caused this is a turning point, is because I remember hearing it around the time Advanced Warfare came out, that we wanted to go back Warfare? To World War
II. Did you mean Infinite Warfare?
No, Advanced Warfare. But even before Infinite Warfare came out, this was like a year or two prior to it.
Yeah, because they were working on the game engine for it back then.
Yeah, because you keep on hearing like, oh yeah, we're going into the future. This is the new direction that we're going. And then you heard gamers kind of had a small backlash to that, saying, but we want to go back to World War II. Give us a good World War II shooter again, because we're tired of this modern and semi-futuristic direction that we're going. We need a good World War II shooter again.
Yep.
And then DICE was just like, don't worry, guys, we got you. Battlefield 1, we go to World War I, we're going to go back even further, and we're going to give you guys exactly what you want. And that's what happened. And that's why I think, at least in terms of this year in 2016, I believe, 15 or 15,
something like that. Yep,
something like that.
That was
I'll look it up and be sure.
That was the year that Battlefield beat Call of Duty, because Infinite Warfare underperformed.
It did
hard, even with the bundling of Modern Warfare Remastered.
Yeah, it is 2016.
Yep. It underperformed hard.
Yep,
and it was not good. This was at the point where Activision basically shit their pants and said, "Oh fuck, what are we doing now? Like, we can't let this happen again." And that's when we got World War II, which did not go over well enough, I don't think.
I was going to say, I thought it did well.
It did well, but it wasn't as well received as Battlefield 1.
Yeah, it did okay.
Yeah.
It kind of had mixed reception, but it did okay.
Because
the way that it played and the feeling of it was definitely better than Infinite Warfare. People that were Call of Duty fans, they weren't saying that they were going to go back and play Black Ops, 2 or 3. Because when Infinite Warfare dropped and Ghost dropped, that's basically what Call of Duty fans said. When those games dropped, they basically just said, "Oh, I'm going back to Blops."
Yeah. And World War II, if you don't remember, was during the year of the loot box, which meant that every game had loot boxes dropping into it. And World War II had the loot boxes that you would get during the lobby screen, where they would fall on people and crack open, and you would see those different cards that you would be getting.
Yeah. I remember that. That was just last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the main, I think, bit of backlash that you saw also, because during the campaign you were almost all American. During the campaign.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, whenever you look back,
I haven't touched World War II. I haven't touched Call of Duty World War II. So
yeah,
I haven't played through enough of the story mode for that.
That's because, like, during Battlefield 1 and during some of the earlier Call of Duty games, I think World at War, where you got to play as different
countries
sides of the front.
Yep.
That's why people,
that's why they enjoyed it.
Exactly. But now you had,
an American-centric version.
Exactly. You have an American view of it, and that's why people had that backlash to it, as well as the loot box system. And now you have Battlefield 5 versus Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Where we are today.
Yeah, in Black Ops 4, just for the record, it's not bad. It's
I've been hearing good things about the Battle Royale mode. That people are actually like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I played the Battle Royale mode. It's pretty decent. And I mean, that's a sign of the times. But like the core Call of Duty experience in it, honestly, it feels like a Call of Duty Black Ops Greatest Hits. It doesn't feel like a new game to me.
Okay.
Because a lot of what they do in it, it feels like I did already in Black Ops 3.
You know,
and
that's
even
not,
the maps,
that's
and
not
even
like
the maps,
a bad thing to say about
now.
a game. Because there's a game coming out next month that's basically just the greatest hits. That's Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah. I mean, for some games, that's not a bad thing. But typically with shooters, you don't want to see those maps that you used to play in previous versions until the DLC comes out. You know what I mean? You want the new experience. When you get a new game, you want it to feel new.
Yeah.
You want it to feel like a step forward, not a step, hey, this is what I used to play. It feels comfortable. Well, yeah, I can see there's an advantage to that, but why wouldn't you just go back and play the old game rather than get the, you know what I mean?
I get that, but then again, if you're playing Call of Duty, this is just your life. I mean, every game.
Yes and no.
I know there's minor differences between them, but especially that's why I pointed out like how after Black Ops 2, each game was taking place in the same time period, you know, the same type of combat, because at that point they were just the same games over and over again. You didn't even have the different time periods now to diversify them.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
It's not that. It finally changed recently with World War II, but
I think a big part of the different versions of Call of Duty, as you started getting near, I'd say, maybe Modern Warfare 2, I want to say. 1 and 2 were more esports driven because they clearly saw that esports was a thing and that they wanted to gear their game for that. So that was a big portion of the way they developed each one of these games. They were like esports, right? So even with a casual fan saying, oh, this is the same, they're basically the same games. When you break it down on like an esports level, if you talk to a lot of those pro players, they can see the nuances between how each one of those games control and which, I guess you could say, weapons basically nerf all the rest of the weapons. So if it was like, hey, you know, real pros only use this assault rifle, this sniper rifle, and this submachine gun, you know, in this version, whereas the next version, there's more of a variety that you can actually get away with and do well with. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying because I know what you're saying because I play fighting games, and that's exactly how it was back in the day. You know, there's the nuances from Street Fighter 2 to Champion Edition to Turbo to Super Turbo, and they're all there. But the difference is that those aren't new games. And I know that back in the day we had to buy them like that because that was the only way you can do that. You know, you can't upgrade a Super Nintendo cartridge. But nowadays, it's an upgrade. It's a free balance patch, and that's what it really needs to be. It's not a brand new game. It's not a brand new product that you're paying $60 for.
Some of them were, as you progress. Again, because you look at something like Advanced Warfare,
the story
and
content,
you're adding different. Some of them added different concepts into how a match played. So, like when you added score streaks into the equation, that was a clear difference from previous Call of Duty games. That was a clear difference from Halo games, for that matter. That was a clear difference from even Battlefield games. It introduced a whole new aspect to multiplayer esport shooter, first-person shooters when they added score streaks in there, because that changed the tactics of how you played it, you know. And as it kind of went along, they kind of changed the way that you were able to achieve those. They kind of changed the way that you were able to get around the map. That's kind of why Advanced Warfare was considered really good, and some of the ones before it weren't, because the wall running and everything, even though it was, hey, we're tired of futuristic, guess what? The wall running portion of it and some of the exosuit stuff, the stuff that the exosuits did, actually did change the gameplay and how you approach matches.
Well, that was the beginning of the futuristic stuff. Before Call of Duty has been essentially into 3 time periods. There's World War II, there's modern combat, and then there's futuristic combat. And then there's a couple that don't fit anywhere, like Black Ops 1, where that's kind of in the past, but it's not World War II either. It's kind of like its own place. But modern combat was your kind of quick, really fast because you had modern weapons. They didn't take forever like the World War II weapons would. And then futuristic stuff had all the crazy, like essentially like superpowers that you can do and running across the walls and all this other stuff. That's different enough. That's fine. I would say, going from Black Ops 2 to Advanced Warfare is enough of a change. Going from Advanced Warfare to Infinite Warfare, though, probably not. And same thing with Black Ops 3.
It definitely isn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But see, if we were doing that, then there would be a Call of Duty game only every 3 years. But there's not.
It's every year. I mean, they are jumping from developer to developer.
Yeah, but they're all doing the same thing.
No.
Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare were all 3 different studios.
Wait, say that again?
Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare were all different companies, and yet they're all doing almost the same thing.
That's like one iteration. For a Call of Duty, as a franchise, that's like one season. You know what I'm saying? Because again, when you look in before that time period and after, each one of those developers are essentially trying to do something different. So like before then, Black Ops 2 was different than Modern Warfare 2. They felt different. The way that they played, they felt different. They did. They were. Trust me. I remember playing them. They were different because anytime you played it, you could tell the difference between a Treyarch Call of Duty game and an Infinity Ward Call of Duty game. There's drastic differences in the way they're both controlled. It just felt different. You always could tell that. Now, when Sledgehammer jumped into the mix with Advanced Warfare, because of how well it did, that was kind of like you were saying. That was kind of the season. They were like, oh, you got Titanfall, you got Advanced Warfare, you got, Black Ops 3, was it?
The year after,
that same season. Yeah, and they all kind of felt, like you were saying, they all kind of felt the same because they were all riding the wave.
Yeah.
Because Titanfall did relatively well. The wall running was a big thing. Everyone wanted wall running because they felt like that was a new way to get around maps. You could build maps differently because you had a whole nother dimension to use.
And I think that's great. Actually, I think that's great. I think especially the way that it is now, since you have 3 different developers, you should have 3 different developers making 3 different types of games. You should have one of them doing maybe like a World War II thing, one of them doing a futuristic thing, and one of them doing a modern thing, so that we can have different games each year, and they can each have their own different lore and be something different.
Yeah, they saw,
but they
like I said, they tried that.
But they won't do that, though. They will just keep doing the same thing over and over again. The companies are following themselves and just making the same game all over and over again. Even this happened with Treyarch. Even though they ended up doing it better, they're copying what Infinity Ward had done before them with Modern Warfare.
The reason why they're doing that now is because they're not doing it as well as they used to.
They did before with
since Advanced Warfare. That's basically the time point. From Advanced Warfare on, Call of Duty games have not been doing very well progressively. World War II, they kind of saw a bump because before then it hadn't been really performing that well, but they've been kind of seeing a decline because they have been expecting for them to set records every single time that they drop a Call of Duty game. That's their expectation.
Yeah, and that hasn't happened since Modern Warfare 3, oddly enough.
Yeah, that hasn't happened since one. I'm surprised that a Blops game hasn't done that. I could have sworn one of the last ones did.
This is what I'm getting at, though. This is why I said this about Blops. If you're a Call of Duty player, then you know that Blops is usually pretty good and better than some of the other entries in the series. But if you're an outside casual person, you cannot tell the damn difference.
For a Blops game, that is true.
That's why it hasn't sold more, because they just see it as another Call of Duty game. They can't tell the difference. If you're if you're a COD player, then you're like, no, these are actually better. But they don't see that. Same thing with me. I will tell you that the Alpha series in Street Fighter is way better than any of the other Street Fighter games. But to the casual player, they just see it as just another Street Fighter game. That's why none of the Alpha games have sold particularly well, except for Alpha 3. And that was just because they got more of a marketing push.
Yep. Treyarch clearly sees it as they're trying to grasp and maintain the esports market, because whereas Infinity Ward was struggling to recover because their founders were gone, the esports Call of Duty players, they basically jumped back on the Blops bandwagon to use as their esports, baseline, I guess you would say. And they were like, look, we need to stick to that so that we don't lose that part of the Call of Duty market.
Well,
that's what I think. That's what I think they did.
I sort of just kind of like shoehorn my opinion into this really quick, but I should just kind of clarify. Now that we've mentioned all of the games and everything, we should just pretty much say, this is COD versus Battlefield. What are our thoughts on the franchise and which one we like more?
I'll let you guys go, because I think right now most people know mine, and so I'll save mine for last.
I'll just go because I already did. Here's the thing. Okay, I've been following video games for a while now, and part of the reason why I do like all the kind of things that I'm doing here on the podcast with you guys and everything is because I am passionate about video games, and it's because I've been following them and liking the history and the news of video games for a long time now, since I would say 2004 is when I started doing this in high school. Just constantly keeping up on stuff, reading blogs since I find IGN, and looking up stuff on GameFAQs and watching G4, all that kind of stuff. So as a result, I like to keep up with stuff that's popular in the video game industry. That means Call of Duty. And after a while, specifically around the time when I said I got burned out on trying to follow Call of Duty, especially because I just wasn't crazy about the franchise. And just because I feel obligated to just kind of follow it so I keep up with everything, I got so sick and tired of Call of Duty that I can't stand it sometimes now. Even though, and here's the thing, if I take my own feelings out of it, I will say this about Call of Duty. Up until literally this last entry, Call of Duty is one of the most fruitful games that you can get every year, because there's so much content in those games. You have campaign, you have zombies.
Sometimes you have campaign.
And that's what I mean. They literally finally cut it out this year. I'm like, well, so much for that theory. But normally you have campaign, you have zombies that can be played both online and offline, and you could do split screen co-op with zombies, which is something that most shooters take out, but that still has it. Then you have multiplayer, and then there's multiple modes within multiplayer. It's not just running around shooting people. There's capture the flag. There's kill confirmed. There's
one shot, one kill.
Call of Duty is, especially in an age when we can't even get companies to give us things without trying to nickel and dime us. Call of Duty is so feature rich that it's absolutely worth the $60. Except that it's the same thing every goddamn year. It's the same fully featured package every year. The exact same one, though. And that's the thing that bugs me. So, right. With that being said, even though I find it a little more harder to understand, even though I still can't really get into it all that much. I respect Battlefield more as a franchise than Call of Duty, even though sometimes I can see the scumminess that's in Battlefield just because, not because of DICE, but because of Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
Which is in there. But even Electronic Arts isn't trying to make this a yearly thing, and it's because they know they can't do it.
Mm-mm. You can't do that with Battlefield.
They already tried. With Bad Company and with Hardline, and it doesn't work. So even though even though they're just trying to go after the Call of Duty money and trying to scrape away Call of Duty's like formula into their own games, sometimes with certain games at the expense at the core of what Battlefield was, Bad Company 1. I still overall can respect it more because of just there's something about that franchise that DICE or somebody at that company will not allow to be completely washed clean away. I don't know who it is, or if it's a group of people.
And they're doing a good job.
But they're kind of doing a good job. Sean?
All right, I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. I'm sorry. It is over 2 hours long.
Yeah, I know. This was long. I kind of saw this coming because these franchises are huge.
Yeah. I'll make mine quick, too.
I've said it before. I think we're talking about 2 different types of gameplay styles. One is very tactical, very methodical. You very much work together as a team in order to find success.
Should.
And that's Battlefield.
You should. Again, I would argue that that's why Electronic Arts keeps on trying to get that Call of Duty formula out of them. But keep going.
And I think it's the different rules that really do set the standard there. That's why you keep on seeing that. And you have Call of Duty that's more, that I find whenever I look at it, that's a bit more fleeting. That's a bit more, okay, I'm going to chase this trend. I think you said Black Ops 3 was the one that tried to do like more interesting characters.
I think so.
Yeah.
In the campaign?
Yeah.
Multiplayer too.
Yeah. In terms of multiplayer, they were chasing that trend that they themselves were actually doing with Overwatch. I remember reading a story about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they tried to chase the trend again with World War II because Battlefield 1 did so well. Now they're trying to chase the Battle Royale gravy train with the success of Fortnite, PUBG, and all the other Battle Royale games out there.
Accurate.
This is why I feel like Call of Duty is losing its soul, in a sense. It's Call of Duty to me is always you get in, you shoot as much as you can. If you die, that's fine. Take a few moments, take a bite of your sandwich, or eat a Dorito, and you're good to go for another round. Battlefield is more of, okay, guys, what are we doing? Okay, we're gonna take let's go to A. Let's round this point. Hey, I've got people coming up on my flank. Guys, watch my back. All right, A's being good to go. Let's go to B. Let's see if we can get that taken care of. It was very much of a squad-based, objective-based gameplay style, whereas Call of Duty was very much a more self-centered, selfish. Okay, let's go in there and shoot some guys.
Yeah,
that's why I feel like whenever they added zombies in, you had that type of cooperative gameplay that was lacking in the actual single player mode. So really, which one is better all depends on your gameplay style. I'm going to say Call of Duty is more my favorite just because of zombies.
Okay.
Just because I will have more fun sitting down with a buddy or two and slaying zombies, because that's the type of gameplay I'm more happy to play rather than some of the multiplayer stuff that's been going on.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Zombies, I mean, we talked about it and we said it was significant, but we didn't, touch on it as much as maybe we should have, because zombies is very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
BJ, go.
Myself, I'm going to cheat.
Okay.
Okay. Because you would think that the way that I've talked and the way I've, kind of listed out my favorite games in the past, that Battlefield would be a clear winner. But in my opinion, if I look at both franchises at their best, which one I put over the other is almost, I pretty much would have to approach it in the same fashion that Shawn basically was talking about, play styles. Because we all know we have our moments when we want to go in and just play for a little while really quick, or we want to go in and just fully be engrossed in something. So your moods can change very quickly. And for myself with shooters, sometimes that's the case. Every once in a while, at its best, Call of Duty can dominate an entire weekend of me and my sister and some of my friends just doing like 100 different 5-minute games of Call of Duty where we're just tearing through people for 20 minutes, having great games. And then the next 20 minutes, we're getting scraped. And then the next 20 minutes, we're doing really well and we're laughing, we're having fun, that kind of thing. So at its best, Call of Duty is an amazing, for myself, bite-size kind of shooter, arcadey shooter that I can just lose myself in when it's done well. And, to be fair, a lot of them are the same, but as nuances between the games there are some that fit better with casual gamers than they do with the hardcore Call of Duty gamers. There haven't been that many of them recently, but there are, at their best, some of the Call of Duty games, they are still or used to be a bit more inviting to casual shooter fans. But on the Battlefield side of things, I love the fact that the kill-death ratio thing, for the most part, could be out of the window because the point system allowed you to say, I'm not great at shooting people, but I know how to win a battle. You could literally be the first or second person in terms of score and only have, maybe 2 or 3 kills if you played the game correctly. So if you knew how to play in a squad, how to support your squad mates, or how to help out other people that are in other squads on your team, you could literally rack up the points and find ways to win a battle without even killing anybody. And that was kind of the beauty of the way that Battlefield is set up, because it's big enough that you could actually plan where you're going, what you're doing, and make real tactical, strategic decisions about what you're going to do. Whereas Call of Duty, you got to think on your feet. You got to be quick. You just got to go. So it's thinking man's game and Rambo on steroids game. It's just whichever one you're really into at the time. And like kind of Shawn said, right now the scale is kind of tipped on the side of Battlefield because they seem to be the ones not even necessarily doing all of the innovation, but they're looking forward so that people are chasing them rather than them chasing, the rest of the industry standard or trends or whatever.
Yeah. Whenever I look at a Battlefield game, I know what a Battlefield game is going to be. When I go into a Call of Duty game, now it's come to, okay, I don't know what I'm getting into. That's kind of where I'm standing.
Yep. So let's wrap it up.
I'm burned out on both, so I agree with both of you, but it's just that there's extra things on the side that ruins it for me. The quick stuff is all great, but the thing is, though, is that you have to deal with that every single freaking year. The Battlefield stuff is great, but they don't seem to know that, and they keep trying to get away from that by putting in more Call of Duty stuff, except when they don't. Sometimes. That's the way. That's the thing that bugs me.
It'll be interesting with Battlefield 5. I didn't get to play the beta, so I'm not too keen on some of the new features that they're trying to put into it that are supposedly going to change how, their battles go about or whatever. The one I'm particularly interested in is the fortifications. It sounds very interesting in terms of how you can make and create forts and stuff and build them up to have strategic portions of the map where you're pushing forward in stages and you have to build stuff in order to do it. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But just like Shawn said, it's something that you can clearly say, this is clearly different from Battlefield 1. This is clearly different than 4 and 3. They're pushing it. They're using something new and that you can clearly say this is something different from all the other shooters that are out there.
Yeah. And that's fair. That's fair. Okay. This has been our longest episode.
Really? That's impressive.
It's almost 2.5 hours. It probably is going to be 2.5 hours.
That is impressive.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, now the series is the worst thing in the world. Let's just bring this back.
Poor Medal of Honor. Oh,
Why
not? Wah.
All right, let's start wrapping things up. Let's go around and share what we're going to be doing. BJ, how about you start us off?
I am hoping that I will be able to continue my streak of streaming and do a bit more Red Dead Redemption streaming. Some of the people that frequent my channel got to see my daughter close out a streaming session last night, which was kind of funny. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption's my jammy jam right now, and I don't see myself being able to jump on much of anything else anytime soon because I thought I was going to be getting Battlefield 5, but it's not looking like I'll be able to get it before the holidays, so we'll see.
Okay. Socials? Anything?
Yeah, y'all know where you can find me. Bunny 3000, BUNNEH 3000 everywhere except for the gram because I don't do gram. Not happening. I'm social media out. So you're not gonna find me on a whole bunch of stuff. Just follow me on Twitter. It'll go to everywhere else that I'm at. But yeah, that's where I be.
Okay, Shawn, how about you? What do you have coming up the pipeline?
Okay, so I am right now working on, now that I finally can talk without hurting myself, although with this 2.5 hour podcast, it is starting to hurt again.
Damn it, sorry.
I'm still taking medicine for it. It's all good. I brought my movie review series, How to Fix, back. So I'm working on a new episode of that coming out.
Saw the first one. It was very good.
So my game plan right now is I'm going through every single DCEU movie coming out. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a basically critique How to Fix for Man of Steel. I'm also doing the Spyro Reignited trilogy. So I might have a review coming out for that, a gaming thoughts on that. I'm also going to be doing Spyro Reignited to replace the Murdered Soul Suspect Let's Play I'm going through at the moment. So it will run through the end of the month. And then after that, it's going to be all Spyro until I get done with that. And then maybe I'll go back to it. I just find that better for the spookier times of year. So might do that as more of a spooky stream. And then just Fallout 76 is downloading right now. It was at 5% when we started. It is now at the glorious 9.9%.
Nice.
So
oh boy,
you'll see some more impressions on that. You'll see experience share about that as well. But if you're ever confused about what I'm doing, if you want to leave any comments or anything, you can always find me at Little Big Ham on Twitter, Jonathan Studios on Facebook, as well as Jonathan Studios on YouTube. And you can always catch me there. I don't do Twitch because I can't stream. As my internet is clearly showing right now, it can't handle much of anything.
Yeah.
All right. And
okay.
Esteban, what's this I hear about you cutting back?
Yeah. Recently, I've noticed I've been a little bit lethargic about everything. So I feel like maybe I just need a break because I'm just kind of creatively spent. I don't feel burned out or anything. I just like don't care. That's what I mean. Like, to be perfectly honest, I'm very used to being like overwhelmed because I want to do so much and I just put too much on myself. And this is a weird feeling where I don't feel like that at all. It's just I don't care right now. So just gonna take a break just to kind of recharge and get some new ideas. Especially because the different things that I've been trying with my videos isn't working. So I need to come up with more drastic new ideas, I think. So, a break will probably help with that so I can think of new things to do. So no new content is going to come out from me I'm taking about a week and a half. I want to kick back into things after Thanksgiving. That's what I'm looking at. I have also cut back on social network because that's another thing I've been lethargic on. I don't care anymore. I've just been going through the courses like scroll, yes, okay. I saw it, okay, at least I read it, whatever, fine. I just don't care. So I pretty much got rid of everything except for Twitter and Instagram because those are the only two that either I find useful, Twitter, or actually are just kind of fun, which is Instagram. So hey, color in on both of those if you want to follow me and see what's going to be going up, especially on Twitter because I always do content updates on there, so you can always know when stuff is going to be coming out. And other than that, that's all the stuff from me. But if you want to follow us here on the Shady Pixels podcast, we have our social stuff over here. Yeah, it's below.
Right beside me.
Yeah. The YouTube page, bit.ly/ShadyPixels. That's where the video form of the podcast will go up. There's the Twitch. That's where you're at now if you're watching this right now. Podcast.com if you want to get the audio version. But it's also on iTunes, on Spotify, and on Google Play as well. If you want to follow us on social media, we have at Shaded Pixels for Twitter, Shaded Pixels Podcast on Facebook, and at Shaded Pixels Podcast on Instagram, even though we have done nothing there. So mostly just check out the Twitter. The Twitter is the number one place that you want.
Just follow us on all of them. Don't worry about that. Just follow all of them.
It costs you nothing. Just follow there, and then nothing will happen. See?
Yeah. No. Shh. Follow. Subscribe.
Yeah, just do it.
Do it all.
Yeah. Follow. If you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell. Do that.
Yeah, whatever that does. Yeah.
It notifies you when videos go because apparently subscribing doesn't do that anymore.
Nope.
YouTube is on fire. Anyway, I think that's where we're going to call it. Finally.
Calling it.
Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Peace and love, gamers and players. Shaded Pixels Podcast out.